How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Moana 2. That's right, 8 years after the first Moana movie came out, Moana 2 comes out. Originally was meant to be a Disney Plus series. This movie is directed by David Derrick Jr. and once again stars Lee Cravaro, sorry if I mispronounced her name, and Dwayne Johnson once again as Moana and Maui. And this time they go on a journey to find a legendary island and rise it back up to help reconnect the people of the ocean. And with this movie, I remember there was supposed to be a Moana series for Disney Plus, but then last year kind of felt like out of nowhere. Well, actually earlier this year, it felt like out of nowhere they just announced a Moana 2, which is weird because we know there's going to be a live action Moana, I think, coming out next year. And we known that was coming out for a while, but then this one was announced out of nowhere. And at times you can definitely tell that this was meant to be a series that was reworked as a film. Now that's not to say that there aren't some elements don't that don't work in a movie. There are elements that make this work as a movie. The thing is, it's easy to tell that there are some moments that would have fit in a specific episode of a Moana series that kind of felt like they just rushed through, or they found something while making the series that they thought would work better in a movie and just put it together. That's not to say that the plot is bad. I think it's an okay plot, but nothing really special. Although I will say I did enjoy the plot of this one a lot more than Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2. If there's one thing I'll say about this movie, I enjoyed this one more than other recent Disney animated sequels that aren't Pixar movies. Another thing I'll say, the animation looks really good in this movie. I still prefer the animation of the first Moana. It just looks better. I mean, yeah, it's still 3D animation, but I don't know. It feels like the animation looked a little bit better in that movie. But still, the animation still looks great, and the voice acting is still great as always. Dwayne Johnson, whether you love him or hate him, I think Maui's probably his best performance, my favorite performance from him. Lee, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, but she does such a great job as Moana voicing this character, and I love the dynamic between Moana and Maui. To me, that's the heart and soul of these Moana movies, just this dynamic. And there feels like more of a role reversal in this movie, where it feels as if Maui has to help Moana gain her confidence back up to help get this ocean back up and stop this evil threat. And the songs, yeah, the first Moana still had way better songs, but I like the songs in this movie as well. And The Rock does have a good singing voice. While I've been singing praise for this movie still does have some flaws. As I said, there are moments where it feels like this would have been better off more as a show than a movie. I don't mind there being a Moana 2. I'm glad they were giving us a Moana 2 because I'd much rather see a Moana 2 than a live action Moana. But it feels like maybe they could have either pushed that movie back and had this movie come out a year later to flesh it out more, because there is story potential in here, but but I feel like it feels rushed at times. And sometimes it feels like they're taking its time building it up. At the beginning, it feels like it takes a while at the beginning to get to where we need to go. And then once we do, they go right quickly through it. The third act is very entertaining, though, I will say that. So the movie, I feel like, does have more pacing issues than the first Moana movie, which I think had terrific pacing. And then there's this crew that Moana recruits that, I mean, yeah, they might come across as likable at times, but they also come across as dim-witted at times. You know, while Moana and Maui are doing all the work, these other characters are just kind of adding their commentary to it or not really contributing that much to the plot. It almost reminds me of the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime and manga, where Yugi and Joey did all the main duels, did the saving the world, where Tristan, Taya, sometimes Bakura and Duke, if you've watched the original Yu-Gi-Oh and know what those characters are like, would just stand back and be like cheering on the sides or adding their commentary, and once in a while do something that doesn't involve dueling, that does help contribute to the plot. But for the most part, I feel like this movie would not have been any different if they weren't in here. Like those characters, to me, it felt like they were created specifically more so for what was meant to be a show than the movie, because it wouldn't have felt any different if they weren't in the movie. That's just me. This is like this one character who you think is helping the villain out, but then turns out she doesn't. Kind of feels like there was more to her character that would have made more sense for the show, but it felt like they kind of scrubbed a lot of it, and just for the sake of this movie. If they ever make a Moana 3 or a Moana series after this, hopefully they explore some of the elements of some of these characters that I felt like just didn't get explored enough. I don't want to like dogpile on this movie because I saw this movie on Thanksgiving with my family and we enjoyed ourselves. As I said, it's an enjoyable movie that families are going to enjoy. It's not eye rolling like some people make it seem like. As I said, I would much rather rewatch this than Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2, because the plot, while it's messy at times, has a lot of potential. The Moana Maui dynamic feels really strong, and I just love their friendship and partnership in these movies. I enjoyed the songs in this movie a lot. The animation still looks great. The suspenseful moments do feel suspenseful, particularly in the third act. It's just, if you're going to compare this to the first Moana is leagues better, and it feels like they took their time with that story, where here it's like, kind of felt like, hey, we don't really have a Disney animated movie to come out this year besides our Pixar movie Inside Out 2. Let's just make this Moana series into a movie instead of maybe waiting an extra year or two to give us a Moana 2 that feels more fleshed out and could have been way better than this okay, enjoyable family movie that we got. I mean, and it doesn't make sense that we're getting a live action Moana next year. Moana's not even 10 years old yet. It's not going to be 10 years old next year. It's one thing if you're remaking classic animated Disney movies into live action that came out in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s and 80s, or remaking live action Disney movies that remaking animated Disney movies into live action that weren't successful as animated movies, like The Black Cauldron and Treasure Planet. Although Treasure Planet, in my opinion, is underrated. I think it's a really good movie. But a movie that isn't even a decade old yet, it just, it's kind of confusing. But anyways, with Moana 2, as I said, I enjoyed this movie. It's easy to tell that there are some elements that would have worked more so for a series than a movie. There are some elements that do work for this movie. But overall, I enjoy myself with this movie. If you have kids, I highly recommend checking it out. Me and my mom, my sister, we enjoyed this movie. So it's enjoyable. But overall, I'm going to give Moana 2 a B minus. If there's a movie to see right now, I would much rather recommend Wicked. But hey, Moana 2, still a lot better than Joker Filet Adieu or Joker 2, whatever the heck you want to call that movie. But yeah, Moana 2, have you seen it? What you think about it? And what's a Disney animated movie that you think deserves a sequel, or a Disney Plus series sequel, like a Disney Plus show that's a sequel? Let me know in the comments down below, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share us with someone that loves Disney movies, that loves Moana, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.